Hello everyone, welcome to Media Production Show 2026. I'm joined by Tom from Canon because you guys have just launched a camera on the show floor, right?
Right here at the show, yes.
2.5 hours ago.
That's it, 2 p.m. we had party poppers and all, and we launched the brand
We're
new.
down a little red pillow.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Oh, look at this, we're dragged in. Yeah, no. The R6V. So, yeah, very exciting. That and the new lens, the 20-50.
Sure,
F4. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to play with this for about a week before today. It's a cracking little camera. It really is.
Sure is, yeah. Brilliant. So the whole idea with it is it's our new full frame content creator hybrid camera, pretty much. So for those that are, video first shooters, it's part of the V range, effectively, the EOS R V range. So for those that are, more video centric but still want great stills on the side, it's a cracking new addition to the lineup, really.
So we'll go through the features, we'll go through some of the key things that people need to know. But what I find absolutely fascinating about this camera, and something I talked about in detail in our video that's also gone out at launch, I'm just really curious to get your thoughts on the idea of these 3 lineups for Canon, because we've never seen it as clearly as we have now in this camera. Because you have the R6 Mark III, you have the Canon C50, both amazing cameras, both sitting in their place in very well-established lineups for Canon. The R series photography hybrid lineup, where the R6 Mark III slots right there, the sort of 6D, the R6 slot in the middle, and then the C50 being the new entry-level smallest camera you've ever made in the Cinema EOS, the dedicated pro video lineup. And now, up until this, the video lineup, this V thing, which was launched last year, was it? Is it?
Yeah, I believe so.
About a year old?
Yeah.
Had the V1 and the R50V, both of which are really quite consumery to mid-range kind of cameras, particularly the V1.
Yeah.
And whenever we see this kind of content creator aimed camera from other brands, they're often aimed in that same market, that creator, that sort of consumer to mid-range, sort of held back a little bit in terms of features, end of the market.
Yeah.
Whereas this isn't that. And you've been very transparent to say this is the flagship model in that video lineup. But I just think it's so fascinating to see the same camera designed specifically for those 3 different use cases.
Exactly. And there's the whole idea is now that Canon's really established that there's a camera for every kind of creator, no matter what kind of, whether you're shooting or video or photo or anything in between. Like there's kind of a camera that ticks every box. And this one really just fills that kind of gap for content creators on the go that want a great handheld camera.
So let's talk a little bit more about that kind of content creator, because of course content is content. Everything's content.
Yeah, everyone's a content creator.
Feature films are content.
Yeah.
So what do we mean by content creator?
So it's basically those people that are on the go, they're shooting, things like vlogs or any like travel films. They need a compact camera that they can rely on. They're shooting professional content because it's going to YouTube or wherever it might be. But they need features like IBIS because they're doing all handheld sort of work. But they need those extra features, the extra codecs, the high resolution formats for, more demanding like YouTube, people expecting 4K videos and even higher now.
Absolutely.
And you need the reliability, like with this camera having active cooling from a video point of view, that really, improves its chances of doing those long form sort of content shoots as well.
And it is a really wide pool, isn't it? Because, all the way down to the people just graduating from their phones, which is more where the R50V and the V1 is aimed at for TikTok creation and all that kind of stuff. But, I mean, I would put my work as well for ProAV into this category because to me, content creation is work that you're creating for yourselves. And I don't mean for yourself personally. I mean the opposite. It could be for a brand, it could be an in-house marketing agency, could be like what we do for ProAV. But the alternative is the jobbing camera operator or small production company or large production company that is doing it for a client and a different client each day of the week. And you have to deliver on that day because that's the day you've been booked, and it doesn't matter what happens or what's thrown at you, you have to deliver every single time in a variety of different situations. That is who I sort of think the pro video, the Cinema EOS is for.
The C50,
Whereas that's not us for the work I do for ProAV. I would very much put this kind of camera is the right one for what we do, right?
Exactly, yeah. And it all just comes down to which of those features do you need? Like if we're talking about kind of comparing the three, they all kind of sit into slightly different category, because R6 III is very much a very photo dominant camera, but with some brilliant, video specs alongside it, and very capable. But you've got things like a mechanical shutter in there, so obviously brilliant from a photo point of view. High speed action, doing things like flash photography, that sort of thing.
This has no mechanical shutter.
No mechanical shutter.
Can it do flash?
So good question. So with a future firmware update that's going to be coming soon, then you will be able to use flash with it. Yes,
Okay.
even with the electronic shutter.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, you have the option to use flash with this. Obviously no viewfinder.
No.
Slightly different kind of layout. You can tell the layout is designed to be more video centric. Big record button, things like a zoom rocker on there as well, which is really nice. So you can take advantage of our power zoom lenses, whether it's this new one or any of our others in the ranges, or even digitally zoom in if you need to as well. And then you've got the C50 on the other hand, which is at that other end of the spectrum, which, like you say, is more the, the production companies, the freelancers that are shooting content, on the go. And they want things like access to the Cinema EOS operating system, which is obviously great. Once you get your head around that system, it's absolutely fantastic to use. It has all the features you need. It's got all the additional codecs. You've got variable bit rates depending on your project files you're trying to manage. More options.
The bit I always miss is monitoring support. The amount of monitoring options you get in the Cinema EOS menu.
Yeah, and you definitely take it for granted once you have it.
Really do.
Yeah.
And then you move to a camera from other brands or from these kind of ones with the more photography-based UI, and you really miss it.
Exactly, yeah. So being able to spec out whether you want on the HDMI feed, you want it to have peaking or false color, whatever, or vice versa, you want it only on the screen. All of that, it's very flexible in something like the C50. And then, of course, this camera here has IBIS, whereas C50 doesn't, and they're very much different cameras in that respect. Primarily because C50, we're more looking into, production, where they're going to be using other types of sterilization methods, whether that's a gimbal, tripod, car rigs, where you want it, sensor to be locked off effectively. Whereas this is very much on the go. So you've got this IBIS sensor, which of course will give you some great, smooth handheld shots effectively. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of camera that is designed to be used cradled in your hand. It's not designed to be in a big rig and all the rest of it. This is designed to be on the go.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think the form factor is brilliant. Nice big grip, but still super compact. And obviously a little bit smaller than R6 III because of no viewfinder on there as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's go through the features that the three cameras do share, because there is a lot that they have in common, and a lot, there's really, what I find surprising is the bits that haven't been throttled back in the R6 Mark III and in this compared to things in the C50, particularly coming from a more video point of view. Things like OpenGate, 7K RAW, 60p. There's so much here.
Exactly, yeah. And I think the big thing when I found out we had OpenGate within this as well, I think it's very exciting as we keep talking more and more about it, having that 3x2 video, so you've got the extra height for your vertical cuts effectively while shooting your 16x9s and everything. I think it's brilliant to still have that in. So you can do up to 7K 30p in OpenGate. And then, you've got internal RAW still in this camera, up to 7K 60, and same with, the rest of the range again. So you've got such a nice overlap between them. So you're not having to pick the camera based on, this doesn't have quite this resolution or whatever. It just comes down to all those additional features around it and how it sits in your workflow, pretty much.
And physically, it's very similar, right? It's the same card slots. So CF Express and SD. And same battery, all the rest of it. And the big shock for me was that this still has active cooling.
It does,
When I sort of first saw the first bits of information on this, I was thinking, okay, cool. It's not going to have any of the active cooling stuff that the C50 has. This still has it. It's scaled back. Like, that's a way smaller fan. There isn't one down here anymore. There's nothing at the front there.
Exactly,
It's still something.
But it still manages heat really well. So if you're going to be shooting a lot more long form, things like podcasts, like live streams as we are now, you can rely on the camera recording for, a good length of time.
Now, obviously, not having had the camera for very long, we weren't able to run our own tests. And I believe when we first started talking about it, we didn't have access to any overheating numbers or anything like that. Have Canon said anything now on how much?
Currently, I don't have to hand know the recording times, but obviously they're going to be a huge step over like the R6V because of that actual active. And if anyone doesn't know, active cooling is a physical fan that's obviously kicking out heat, as opposed to passive, where it's just relying on the body to naturally, get rid of that heat. So, that really helps out. And even when you're filming on a hot summer's day, not that we get too many of them, but
what is this hot summer's day?
When you do on the odd occasion, you get these heat waves, 3 times a year maybe. Then you can rely on the camera outdoors as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're doing this is for content creators, they're going to be taking this with them everywhere, all around the world, all around here, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
I can absolutely see those sort of travel kind of style pieces of work needing something like this. So it will go into all kinds of environments.
Yeah, exactly. And you've also got things like still your professional exposure tools, which have come from like C50 and even R6.3s, having Fox color, even waveforms in there. Again, all the EOS R but V body, I think it's amazing that you're seeing that crossover now, and it's no longer you just need a Cinema EOS camera to get all these. You can now pick and choose depending on what you need.
So what do we think if we focus on the C50 now a little bit?
Yeah.
Like, I think you could very easily, sitting at home watching this camera launch, be thinking, oh well, it does everything the C50 does, but for cheaper. Why would I buy a C50?
Yeah.
So what are the main reasons the C50 still exists alongside this?
C50, I think it's just the amount of these little additional things that all kind of add up. So if you list some of them off, you got things like time code. So if you sync in multi-camera productions,
big one.
You've got a time code port on there.
It's a boring one, but like I said, going into any sorts of different situations and jobs day by day.
Yeah.
If you walk into that job and you're being paid there to be on day rate, and the sound guy comes up to try and jam code sync your camera, and you go, "Rah?"
What do I
That's
put this
really
into?
not not very helpful. Doesn't look good.
Yeah, exactly that. So things like that. As I was saying, you've got more scalable recording formats. So the fact that you don't have to just be forced to use, one recording format or one bit rate, you can actually scale those. So do you want it quite low to keep your files smaller, or do you want to have the higher option of bit rate in the XFAVC mode? So you can have a slightly higher, because then that way you're going to get more data, better image, less compression, that sort of thing. But even things like you've got Super 35 and Super 16 RAW as well. So you've got the option, if you are using Super 35 lenses, or you want to crop in on your prime lens and get a slightly tighter shot, you've got that option in RAW alongside that. And of course, the overarching thing of how this all pieces together is the fact there's a Cinema EOS camera in video. So you have got effectively 2 cameras in one. So photo, it's effectively like an R6 Mark III, just without mechanical shutter. Switch over to Cinema EOS and it reboots as that different camera. And for those that have used Cinema EOS or new to it, it's just so nice to use. It's very video orientated. As you say, and having all those customizability around monitoring, all of that, it's just, it's a lot more flexible from a video shooting point of view.
I mean, we've got 3 C50s pointing at us right now. Everything that you're looking at here is the Canon C50. And I would want to be using the C50 still for this kind of job. This is going into a mixer and being recorded on the mixer and going live streamed out. And so we don't necessarily need timecode sync for this because the mixer's doing that. But this could very easily be just pre-recorded with these 3 cameras, in which case I would want timecode sync going into them. And also the monitoring control out over the HDMIs. The HDMI port is absolutely crucial to what we're doing here. Without that, that HDMI port, and we can see and move each one of these and the screen doesn't go off and all the rest of it. When it's still connected to the mixer.
And you've also got things like XC protocol, which I know we've talked about before. So if you want IP camera control, which is a huge feature, if you're planning on, mixing and matching multiple Cinema EOS cameras and even PTZs, you can actually control these cameras over IP. Effectively, whether that's through a PTZ controller or even using our free multi-camera control app. So whether that's Wi-Fi or Ethernet, you can control it, trigger record, tap to focus, get all your exposure assist tools all on an iPad or iPhone.
And then, of course, there's the physical differences, isn't there? We talked about the fans, and so presumably we don't quite know yet what the overheating limits are going to be on this, but presumably there will be some limit where we run into overheating with this, whereas we wouldn't on the C50 because there was that larger fan in there. And the XLR top handle.
Oh yeah,
You know, if you want, you can add XLRs to this with the optional Tascam.
and that will give you 4 channels of audio then, which is nice to see. But yeah, the whole format of the C50 is with that top handle in the box as well. It's not an optional accessory. I think really just opens up, even if you ignore the audio side of things, obviously having XLRs is brilliant, but just having that top handle as part of the body, it locks on really solid. It feels great in the hands. Even just having the mounting points around the camera as well. It's just a lot nicer to rig up as well in that respect.
Yeah.
And for those that are wondering, so I'm sure people ask, you can't use the C50 top handle with the with the R6V because it's a different body shape. There's no mounting point to the handle, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it needs there's 2 physical screws.
Exactly.
But even if you just slot it into the MI shoe, it would be wobbly, but it
would
won't
be
work,
wobbly,
right?
and it wouldn't work because of obviously software and compatibility and that sort of thing. But if they need XLRs, that's where something like the Tascam unit is still great. Slide that on, and it still gives you 2 full-size XLRs. So there is a solution still. Yeah,
absolutely. Cool. Is there anything else we want to cover on the camera before we move on to the lens?
So I mean, just to list some of the key specs, other things, you've now got 4K 60 UVC, which I think, again, from a content creator point of view is brilliant.
Yes.
So something actually that's higher resolution than the C50 currently. So it means that, if you're plugging into a webcam, into Teams, to a live stream, USB-C straight into your laptop, and it'll see it as a webcam when you've got a 4K 60 webcam. Just like
which I believe is one of the first 4K 60
I believe so. I've not seen
cameras
it.
out there.
Yeah, personally.
I might be wrong. There might be 1 or 2, but it's certainly quite a rare spec to see.
Yeah, it is.
And yeah, it's a big deal.
Exactly.
If you're doing 4K, like, because UVC is very common for things like game streamers and stuff like that at home. And lots of them do stream out in 60p because they want the game to look as fluid as possible and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So having a camera that matches that makes perfect sense.
Exactly. And then you also got, in terms of the autofocus, obviously you've got dual pixel seamless AF2.
Yep.
With the ITR AFX, so intelligent tracking recognition. So effectively it means it can, see faces, but also back of heads. So if someone's not walking backwards towards you, but they're walking away from you, it'll obviously lock onto the head before it even sees a face, effectively. So really sticky autofocus. The autofocus is slightly different in EOS R cameras to Cinema EOS.
Yep.
You can find it's a little bit quicker in EOS R cameras, just because it's a slightly newer generation within there. Still great options to tweak it in Cinema EOS cameras, but the autofocus is a really nice improvement over previous cameras. You've got even horses in there, and usual cats, dogs, people, face only, my personal favorite, or detect only, where it'll only focus on faces, nothing else. So all the great autofocus stuff that you'd expect from Canon, pretty much. You also got things like, again, content creator led vertical UI. So when you turn the camera, portrait, everything flips.
And a screw thread as well, so you can just, without having to add any extra bits and bobs or an L plate or anything, just screw into a tripod that way.
Yeah. So you can tell it's just everything's been orientated around the modern day content creator, pretty much. Wide dynamic range, you've got 15 plus stops of dynamic range with C-Log 2 and 3. I know a lot of people were happy to see C-Log 2 in there, which I know we're starting to add into a lot more of our EOS R and V cameras. So the image is beautiful and great Canon colours as they expect. Just like the R50V, you do have the colour profiles in there as well. So if you just want great out of camera looking footage, there is built in like teal and orange and like all these different colour profiles. So if you want a great image out of camera, you can also choose them.
They do get used quite a lot for sort of social media, like sharing to your Instagram stories, that kind of
and
stuff.
The thing is, a lot of people, they'll shoot log and then they'll then go download a look that's, I say teal and orange, it's a very popular one, but anything like that, they'll go whack a look on it anyway. So
and then that's all they do to it.
Exactly. If you can shoot it in camera and you got your exposure right and everything else, then why not just do it there and save yourself the hassle, pretty much.
Well, you're probably more likely to get your exposure right as well, because you can actually see what you get, what you see is what you get.
Exactly. And obviously you've got false colour and waveforms and everything to help you with your exposure anyway. So I love having false colour in a camera like this. I almost immediately remapped this button number 3 here, because it's set to auto exposure lock when it's out of the camera. Out of the box, but I almost immediately remapped it to be false color. Just quickly toggle that on and off. It's such an underrated
good way of working.
Feature. Like, I absolutely love that, and I'm glad that we're seeing it across EOS R cameras as well, not just Cinema EOS.
It's an exposure tool. You need to get your exposure right on those as well as on those. It doesn't matter what kind of work you're doing. You still want to get your exposure right.
Yeah. Exactly that, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's really kind of the ultimate content creator camera, and it, you know, ticks a lot of boxes. And as you say, it's nice to now have those solid 3 propositions depending on what you need as a creator in any aspect, really.
And it's nice to have a professional choice in that segment market, because there just has not been that many. You end up having to use other cameras that aren't necessarily designed specifically for what you're doing.
Exactly, and people want mirrorless cameras because they're small and light, but it doesn't mean you have to compromise on your video features because of that. So that kind of having this V range obviously really just ticks that box there. Yeah.
And then the lens. So alongside this, you've launched the 20 to 50 power zoom f4.
We have, yes. So something a little bit different. It's the first Canon lens that has L series and full frame that has internal power zoom. Yeah. So no external motors like on the 2105,
which is very welcome. This is a lovely way to do it.
It's all inside, and the interesting thing is it's zoom by wire. Yeah. That's the only way physically to keep that lens so small for a 20 to 50, f4 throughout, and be able to still zoom whether it's servo or physically and manually between 20 and 50.
The only lens I've ever seen that does this, where it's sort of got the normal focus ring on zoom ring
with
on
hard
one
stops
side,
as well. When you get
with
to
hard
the
stops, exactly. You can't go past that point unless you push a bit harder. Yeah. But when you do go from sort of 20 to 50 on there, you can see when the camera's on, it uses the servo motors to go like that to get there. But then you sort of push a bit more forcibly, and you go into this WNT mode where it's like a zoom rocker, but on the lens, where you sort of nudge it each way.
Yeah, it's great. And you can change the speed of that. And obviously with these cameras, so this and even the C50 having a zoom rocker on there, you can change the speed of like the subtle touch of it and then the full speed of it. So you can really dial in the speed and get you some nice smooth, zoom in and zoom out.
And you can control that zoom from elsewhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
I see this being not necessarily so popular with this camera, but more popular with things like the C50 and the C80, where you can use them in this kind of environment. With XC protocol back at the desk and be zooming in and out, all done remotely.
Exactly, and we've actually just launched the new like vlogging hand grip effectively, and that's got a little remote control with it. And if you could get that new version, you can actually zoom remotely with that little infrared
and that
thing
is
as well.
Really cool. Because you can also put assignable buttons on it, so you can toggle things like false color, you can toggle punch in.
Exactly. So if you're doing like pieces to camera by yourself, you're filming food videos at home or whatever it is, you can literally have a monitor up so you can see yourself, and then you can just zoom in and out, reframe depending on what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So it's great to really open up that kind of option. And I think in terms of a range, having that 20mm, especially for those creators that film a lot of themselves, I think it's just great because you can easily vlog with that. 50mm, as we know, is a great focal length for flattering faces and things like that. So it's quite a nice range to have, really. Yeah,
and it's got image stabilization, of course, as well.
Yeah, exactly. So combining that,
control ring and focus ring.
Yeah, all the usual great stuff you expect from RF. It's even got optical suppressed focus breathing as well. So all of that is optically done within the camera, and anything additional is also done through the software as well. And of course, as we mentioned before, VSR and any iris cameras, or any digital IS as well, they do talk together. So with this camera set up currently, you get 7.5 stops of image stabilization. So you're going to get some great, whether it's stills or smooth video.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, I think that about wraps that up. But if you are here at the show, a media production show, we are going to have the camera over on our ProAV stand over there. And of course, you've got one on yours.
We'll have a camera and the lens over on our stand.
Come play with it. Come try it. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you very much for joining me.
Great to join.
And there'll be plenty more of these streams coming tomorrow as well, live from Media Production Show. Thank you. Bye.